And now back to your regular programming.
If you speak better to yourself.
You showed up for probably the dumbest conversation we've ever had on this show.
Let's have that smile again.
Tell me how that happens. Physically should not happen.
Relax.
If you say
Give me as well.
3 times a day, God will line it up.
He's just an absolute hack, and he gets his ass kicked by the teammates every week. It's just terrible.
The worst possible thing could have happened. Yeah, the two teams that we said were the villains of the NFL, they're going to be playing for the Super Bowl. I don't know why we're shocked. We got a bit to unpack here, Sean. Before we get there, can you share with our listeners where they can actually don't bet on the game? Go bet on basketball. Go bet on Japanese baseball. Go bet on something that is not the Super Bowl, because the outcome is going to suck regardless.
The second worst thing that could have happened. Sean didn't win a bet all Sunday. Had so many bets out at BetOnline, which it's not their fault that they're the world's most trusted betting platform and my number one source for online betting in 2025. It's not their fault that there's just evil in the mix. And I was 2-0 last week on basketball bets. Thrilled with myself. Gave myself...
What were they?
Extra. I bet on Boston to win. And they were down, and then I won one betting against the Heat.
Bet them?
Yeah. I bet against the Heat with the Bucks, and I bet on Boston against the Mavericks.
Money line? 2
money lines, 2-0 for the kid. I got a big nut going on for Championship Sunday, and what happens? Nut demolished, nut destroyed. Bet online, every touchdown, every three-pointer, hat trick. They got you covered with all the odds, stats that you need to make yourself feel smart going into a game, and then watch just the rubitry go on. BetOnline, that is the presenting sponsor. You should do all your sports gambling there. The BetOnline, the game starts here.
I don't think you're supposed to use the word gambling.
Sports wagering.
There we go. Correction.
Wagering.
Sean, let's talk about the NFC Championship first. 55-23. This was one of those games for a very just little sample size. You're watching oh man, Commanders are going to make this a football game. And then it just started to tumble so much so that Will Shipley scored a freaking touchdown. The Eagles won it. This was a outcome that we all knew was going to happen coming into this. They had the best roster. They had one of the most smothering, ridiculously talented defenses. Who would have been shocked that Jalen Carter is just murdering people on the field, just absolutely violating offensive linemen, and
you mean punching them in their head, and punching their eyes, and getting no flags for it? Unbelievable.
I don't care, man. He's nasty. That's a positive comment towards Jalen Carter. He is nasty as hell. That's the expectation. I'm shocked that he is unblockable at the current moment. The way that the opening drive for both these teams occurred, I think, painted how this game was played. If you only showed me those 2 drives, I would have told you the final score and probably could have guessed it right, which was multiple 4th down conversions, scratching and clawing, Jane Daniels escaping pressure, everything having to go correctly on one of the longest drives I have watched during this playoff run. And they go down and they get a field goal. The ensuing drive for Philadelphia, Saquon Barkley, a long touchdown. And that was the rest of the game.
Yeah, real interesting to see Washington convert 2 4th downs on their first drive and then say, we're good on those. We're going to kick the field goal, and then see the Eagles do what the Eagles do all year, hit home runs.
They shouldn't have been kicking field goals, by the way. You got to have a little bit more foresight than that.
Real tough there. Real tough watching Saquon Barkley's first 2 touches go, both of them 4 touchdowns. There's a lot to, if we really want to get nitty gritty with the breakdown, you can't have Jaden Daniels on the bench as long as you had Jaden Daniels on the bench in this game. He's arguably the best player on Washington's team, and if not the most impactful player. So him sitting on the sidelines for so long while Philly turns the ball over and turns you over, and you got 3 fumbles in the game and you can't return a kick. It was just a total mess for Washington, a total evil scenario watching Philly move on in this fashion. I'm not shocked because Philly and Howie Roseman did all the right things for a team that is win now. It was a masterclass offseason. They had a fantastic draft. They brought in...
They've had back-to-back fantastic drafts. The fact that they've accumulated they accumulated as many picks as they did to draft the likes of Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, and then Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith. Who let this happen? That's the big question that's not being answered.
It's amazing. It's really amazing that they can always make the playoffs, get buried with a bad first-round pick, and knock it out of the park every time. So credit to the Eagles organization for just firing on all cylinders. Eagles fans, fire you into the sun. Just annoying, can't win with you, don't like you, arrogant, sensitive, can't deal with them.
The pig roast in the shopping cart was kind of cool.
That was badass. You know what? It's practical. It's the Washington mascot. You're cooking it. We don't complain when college teams are grilling Gator before or after they play Florida. So I'm not going to complain in the NFL. That's showmanship. That's guys being sports and doing it. But obviously, you go to Philly.
Being sports and doing it.
Yeah. Look, long weekend. These Philly animals that just every time someone, quote, invades the link, it's like 10%, if that, of the stadium's capacity is wearing opposite colors. And you got to harass, and you got to assault, and you got to undermine Tailgate Ted being proud to win it over the Hard Rock. I know, it was a little weepy, a little embarrassing, but it was a dominant win for one of the most unlikable fan bases with a very likable team that we could have had.
Yeah, and we're obviously not from very likable fan bases either. I mean, you're a Falcons fan. I'm a Giants fan. Nobody's perfect. This isn't direct shade at Eagles fans. I at the very least, I am glad that passionate fans are represented in the Super Bowl. I'm just going to say that. That's the most positive. I am going to spin that. That's it. I'm a Giants fan. I don't like you guys. This has been established on the show before. You've established it. You are a Washington rooter for some weird reason. You are a Falcons fan supporter.
Hometown team, yeah, sure.
To talk about this, just though, for the Eagles, everything has gone so right for them over the last couple of years. And that was why there was frustration at the beginning of the year and last season when they were showing a lot of problems and a lot of weaknesses because they're so deep and they're so athletic and they're so explosive at every single position group. They've got the best offensive line and defensive line in football. They're supposed to dominate the way that they did against the Commanders. And it came to fruition. Nick Sirianni continues to be the biggest villain in the sport, and it doesn't get talked about enough. And him succeeding should have been an expectation because this is what gets missed in all this. The best story never wins. The best story never wins. The Commanders and Jane Daniels, they were the best story. How many times have we... Washington, TCU. How many
them,
times?
It was Detroit this year.
Right.
We were noting that Detroit, it wasn't going to happen for them. Commanders had a shot for it to happen for them. Rookie of the year, Super Bowl, let's cap. It wasn't going to happen, unfortunately. Now, shocking after the first two matchups, I was shocked to see a 50 burger in the championship round. That's a crazy number to see.
It's very fitting that the Eagles are so Georgia heavy and that it looked like the 2022 national champion, no, 2023, the Georgia TCU national championship game where it was just a bloodbath.
Now, you could make an argument that maybe Jordan Davis hasn't been the star that people thought he was going to be, but you nailed it on the head. Is depth.
He's a fridge. I didn't think he needed to be a star.
You forget guys. Well, he's got sweet feet. I want him to be a star. They got guys that are just like having a pass break. Like Keely Ringo's name got brought up. Haven't thought of Keely Ringo in years. I'm like, Keely Ringo was insane and very good, and now he's making plays. They just have dudes that make plays. And they didn't get phased at all. Washington was trying to bait them like that was embarrassing. Like Lattimore was trying to get AJ Brown kicked out. It was they were trying to hit after the whistle, maybe get Philly to lose their mentality. They didn't. Philly stayed so locked in. I was so impressed that they rose above. And Washington wasn't one of these dirty ass teams that was always trying to get you out of it, but championship game, we're trying to use some mind tactics. We did a fake punt in the first half. We're desperate. And to see them
that worked.
To just see them, Philly, nut up and say, you're not getting to me. We're going to keep doing exactly what we're doing and chip away. It broke Washington because they couldn't get a rise out of the Eagles, who you'd figure you could get a rise out of, but they didn't. It was impressive how they stuck together. And I mean, crazy stuff happening. Dorrance Armstrong beating Jordan Mailata for a sack. Who would ever script that? It would get thrown out of Hollywood. It was so unrealistic, and it happened, and they didn't get phased.
By the way, the Frankie Louvu play that he had where he just I've never seen a blitz so successful in my life, where he just blasted through the interior of an offensive line and got a stop. I mean, you kind of wondered at that point in the third quarter, like, hey, could they get back into it? And then it's crazy how much the switch was flipped. The Washington situation, like their future's bright. They're gonna be fine. This is the first year of Jaden Daniels. For them to get this far is an indicator that if you spend some money this offseason and you spend some of these draft picks on offensive linemen, I'll tell you, who do I have them getting in my mock draft?
Tell you what they got the money.
Jonas Avenea. I think that Jonas Avenea would be a huge boost to their offensive line, the Arizona offensive linemen. They need to address that. The O-line needs to get better. They need to find some more weapons. So much needs to be done to just continue to support this young man.
They need a running back. Brian Robinson, he's fine.
Well, this is a year to draft a good running back.
They need a running back for the future. They need a secondary wide receiver. Make De'Ami Brown a slot speed option, and then they need somebody. They need draft everything else defense. Defensive line, you could maybe, if you got a guy you love, but I'm looking at linebackers, defensive backs. Start taking a page out of Philly's book. It's like they draft 2 linebackers every year, and they're never without. It's never, he couldn't cover. They got their backup in. He couldn't make a tackle. No, Washington can't even draft the first-round linebacker. Jamin Davis.
He sucks.
Yeah, so they
Could've
really
told you that one wasn't going to work.
They need a – Ryan actually came on CDS and said he basically said it's not going to work, and that was.
He was emphatic about that.
That was tough. They need to nail a draft. They had they had a great draft last year. They had a great one. They nailed the quarterback position. You need to start fleshing it out, and that means upgrading over Austin Eckler. It means upgrading over Jamison Crowder. Maybe keep Ertz. I mean, I was impressed with Ertz this season. He said
he's not going to retire. So yeah, I'd bring him back. I mean, he's reliable.
11 catches, 100 yards in this game. That's a guy that Jaden feels comfortable with. Keep him around. That would be a smart decision.
Chiefs won in the AFC Championship game, 32-29. Again, we could have predicted this was going to happen. It's never the story that you want to occur. This was a really close, hard-fought game, though. This was back and forth up until the very end, and we ended up getting a very thrilling end where, we'll talk about this in a second, there was a lot of discussion on Josh Allen's decision-making on that final play.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think about this? Because I feel like we were just simply reminded, hey, you're going up against the Chiefs that have a ton of speed and Patrick Mahomes, and there's just nothing you can do about it in late game situations. If the game's close, it's going to Kansas City.
There's so much to break down from this game. I'll say this. If you're a YouTuber football analyst, don't argue with Ryan Fitzpatrick about if you're right.
Let's talk about that in a second.
I'm glad you noticed that also.
Yeah.
That's just
Ryan and I have been texting about that a lot today.
That is, as you should be. That is paramount auxiliary discussion. This game leaves NFL fans, like NFC fans or casual NFL fans, with such a rotten taste in their mouth because of this. It's because Kansas City was getting all the calls and they were getting all the favorability. And you know what happened? Josh Allen had the ball in his hands with 3 minutes left to go in the game to go win it all, to put his team to the Super Bowl. And there was no ref interference at that point. Here are the cards dealt to you, big man. Go ahead, make some magic happen. What happens? Dick. Nothing happens. Turn it over on downs. Crazy ass play. Whatever. Spagnuolo saves his most exotic blitz for this, as he should have. It was strategically smart. And nobody can blame the refs as soon as it's taken out of that context. Seeing Josh Allen with a chance to drive down, kick the field goal, tie it up, score a touchdown, win the game. He doesn't. So it's just the Chiefs won the game. I can't buy into all this other narrative because they had a legitimate shot to go down and do what Mahomes would have done.
I think the other part about this that it was talked about a lot today, Steve Spagnuolo is the best coordinator in the sport.
Yeah.
And he's not going anywhere. It's really weird to wrap your head around this because he got the one opportunity with the Rams, and that was about it. It didn't work. He bounced around as a defensive coordinator until he got with Kansas City. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't sit there until he retires. His impact, and maybe this is something that we haven't even thought about when Andy Reid does retire. Say they win the Super Bowl, he retires.
Yeah.
Maybe Spags is the next head coach. He deserves it. His ability to impact the game the way that he does it's just unbelievable. You just mentioned that blitz that was called in those final minutes to get the ball back. That requires just next level thinking.
It was brilliant.
He is one of the most tactile chess playing coordinators in the sport. I think there's a lot of guys in the sport that coach on their heels a lot. And he is the only one that says, F that. If we lose, we're going to lose by going at your neck. That's how we're going to lose this game.
It was a brilliant call. It was a bluff, send the house, pull everyone back. Allen thinks he's safe. We're sending a corner to the side that Allen's going to roll out. Give him no time. Give him no chance. Really, it was beautiful defensive scheming against that play, and they called it right. So be it. And I hope eventually NFL teams are going to realize what they have and do some proper asset, research. Because I do think Mike McDaniel could be one of the best offensive coordinators in the NFL. I think he could. Head coach, maybe it's not for him. I think what I said about Ben Johnson, I hope he goes back to being an OC if it flames out in Chicago. Not rooting for it, but if you're so strong at your current position, I get taking the risk, I get the payday, but man, you could really make an impact and continuously be in situations for a big-time late playoff berth if you stay put with a winning team and continue the success. Jumping ship to try to start your own thing, entrepreneurial spirit, I understand it. I get it, but I think that some of these coaches, these coordinators, hopefully they start wisening up and saying, it's not going to get better for me if I leave and try to go out on my own in this venture. I like being the guy calling the plays. I like getting my praise.
This is a weird bit. This is a weird bit.
Yeah, I think coordinators should stay on teams when they're winning. That's my bit.
These guys are alpha dogs. They want the opportunity to be head coaches.
They all do really well when the alpha dogs move on. They're all real good afterwards.
That's an insane. Well, they should all just stay. Then who the hell is going to be the next head coach of these teams?
Yeah, some morons will keep on taking a shot.
It's an impossible job to succeed at. There is a very low success rate. You got to take shots and chances in order to try to succeed. Andy Reid was fired at one point as being the head coach of the Eagles, got them to a Super Bowl.
Yeah,
and
Super
look what
Bowl
he's done
and
now.
2 conference championships before that.
Bill Belichick, longtime DC. A lot of people might have said, oh, this guy should probably just be a DC. Same shit.
Do you think Robert Saleh really thought he was going to win a Super Bowl with the Jets?
Yes.
Mistake.
What are you talking about?
Do you think he ever wins one as a head coach?
You have these weird takes. I don't know where this isn't even like a bad.
I can see it.
This isn't even a take that's like, well, you just don't know what you're talking about. You know what you're talking about, but you're taking a really weird angle with this. This is a weird angle to take.
Guys that are uber successful with their teams and have number one defenses like Robert Saleh had in San Francisco, doesn't want to replicate it, goes to the Jets. It's a bad business decision. They should be more patient. These pitiful basement franchises should be punished for being basement franchises and get bad coaches, not letting Robert Saleh waste his potential.
I don't disagree that if you're a top candidate, yeah, you shouldn't jump to a team that hasn't produced success. But again, these guys are alphas. Their thought process. Their thought process is that I'm going to fix this shit. I'm going to go in there and I'm going to fix this. This is going to get right.
Trust me. I know why it happens. I know why these guys keep doing it.
Hold on.
It's frustrating to me.
You want a real dickhead way to take this? That's like you saying, you know what? I'm just going to be a producer for the rest. You want to be the head coach at some point, don't you?
I would understand wanting to be a producer if I was in freaking Max's position with PMT. You're getting the airtime. You're doing bits. You're getting all that stuff. That's what Saleh had in San Francisco. He's not buried in the Midwest producing overnights.
He's only a coordinator. We all know, and I think he's smart enough to know that his ceiling is being a coordinator.
Yeah, I'd say so. I understand.
No one's lining up to get takes from Max on Pardon My Take. No one's like, man, I need to listen to his show this week.
Yeah, but he works there. It works in that situation. And some of these coordinators need to understand that they're working in their situation.
I don't disagree that there are some that can't succeed as head coaches. And I think a lot of them do stick in those roles. But for the vast majority, if you're a leader of men, you want to lead men to the ultimate goal of winning a Super Bowl on your own.
Yeah, I think that Ben Johnson...
Weird angle. This is such a weird angle.
Some of these decisions baffle me.
We should just have an AI run a team. I'm surprised
that's what they're doing in Dallas. Yeah,
Chat
beat me to
GPT.
it. Yeah. Hey, Gronk. Can you imagine him talking to Gronk about who he should hire?
Ask Gronk. Who should be? Give me a list of 5 quarterbacks to trade for Dak Prescott. All right, if you had to give a pick, though, quick pick. I'm going with the Chiefs. I think that the Chiefs are going to win this. They are.
Why wouldn't they?
Just naturally the better coach team. They won the first time. We see that there are some limitations to this Eagles team. Like at some points, their offense does stall. Against a more balanced team than the Commanders, they're going to get slowed down offensively. The big question mark is how does Patrick Mahomes and that receiving core, how do they handle having little time to operate going up against that insane defensive line? Because this could be like that Bucs-Chiefs Super Bowl where he was on his ass most of the entire game.
I think Kansas City is good enough at scheming to keep Patrick Mahomes upright since that.
Oh, we said that about that. That offensive line was awful compared to this one, but still,
this is tough because it's the most. It's the best rushing attack that Kansas City has faced in a Super Bowl. You could talk about McCaffrey and the Niners. It wasn't like this, though. That was McCaffrey making magic on his own. Saquon Barkley or their run scheme are just so powerful. They're virile. They're just alive. But it's the Chiefs. I'm not going to look you in your eyes and say that Philly is going to beat Kansas City when all the powers of darkness are leaning Chiefs. You got that lady in the booth. Not going to mention her. You got that lady on the field afterwards. Not going to mention her. You got three-peat possibility, first time in NFL history with the next Tom Brady, an immediate successor to the throne of Tom Brady. Like it all just lines up for Mahomes to have his own LeBron comparison to Brady's Jordan. Well, Jordan never did this. Well, Bron never had this. And it all sets up perfectly. And we're all rubes for thinking it wouldn't.
I have to say this, by the way, and I know I kind of let in saying that both teams are villains. I actually have enjoyed watching the Chiefs' success. I have quietly rooted for the Chiefs over this time. If I had to say I had a second team, it would be the Chiefs. Like, to be honest, I really like Patrick Mahomes coming out of Texas Tech.
Dude.
Him transforming the way that he did has been like one of the most entertaining things in my NFL fandom, just being an NFL fan. If I had to pick a second team, it would be the Chiefs. I'm making the case here, and there's plenty of takes out there in the ether that who's more dislikable, the Patriots or the Chiefs. The Patriots were 10,000 times more dislikable. Chiefs fans are not dickheads the same way that Patriots fans are.
The Chiefs aren't as annoying. It's just they're frustrating.
Right.
The Patriots and the Patriots fans annoying.
Right. The Chiefs, the fan base is not like annoyingly outspoken. I think they're very grateful and understanding of what they have right now. It's just annoying.
They've had their antics.
The small circle that's annoying is Patrick Mahomes' extended family and the whole Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce thing. Like, that's annoying. I don't care about that. That's not football. Pat Mahomes is about football. The Patriots shit, we couldn't walk around on that URI campus during the second wave of their dynasty without hearing, go Pats, go Pats. We were part of the sports media stuff. We couldn't talk about anything but the Patriots on the student radio because that was all that they all had the bandwidth and the mental capacity to cover and talk about.
That was rough. I think the Eagles are somehow more likable than the Chiefs in this one. I understand why you wouldn't think so because the Saquon hurt. But for us, the regulars, I'm rooting for Barkley. I really am.
You got the most dislikable coach.
I know. He's a jerk off. I know. And Big Dom, even worse than the coach. Trust me. Joe,
but he thinks he's the main character. They both do.
Dude, I really am happy.
You think they share a bed? You think they share
Big Dom and
Sirianni?
I think that he keeps him safe. I think there's a nightly check-in. Hey, you good, big man? You good? Yeah, I'm good.
They're in bunk beds. And
I'm good, Dominic. You can enter. Saquon Barkley is he's a star, and you can root for him. He seems like a nice guy. He's an absolute beast on the field. Like that is who America should be rooting for. He got wasted for 4 years on a basement franchise, and now we finally get to see his potential, and he's having one of the best postseasons for a running back we've ever seen. I can root for that guy. There's a lot about Philly I can't root for, but that's my lean. How are you
gonna sit here and say,
I know,
I'm gonna root for the team that has just this ease of accumulation, annoying ease of accumulation of all of the best play. They have cakewalked into building a premier roster. They're not supposed to be able to get Saquon. They're not supposed to be able to get A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith and Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis and Nolan Smith and Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. All of those guys are all top 10 at their positions. The whole offensive line, they're not supposed to be able to do that.
The Chiefs didn't play scared in the offseason.
The Chiefs have duct tape on everything. They're running out there with God, who they got DeAndre Hopkins, who's being held together with Scotch tape at this point. They're doing what they can. That's exciting. That's football. That's doing the most with what you have and being well coached and having a talented quarterback. Not the team who's loaded.
You're not wrong.
For Thanos, man.
You're not wrong. I like Jordan Mailata. I think Landon Dickerson is great. Offensive line, I like the Philly offensive line. They don't take any S. I also like the return of the big ticket. I like the big right guard. Now I'm blanking on his name. Jets first, Mekhi Becton. I like that he's found his spot in the NFL. He was a great athlete. Couldn't cut as a left tackle.
Another guy that they're not supposed to
have.
Get. Yeah,
but you know what? They are adaptive and they make it work. And they have a white cornerback. Where you got to root for this squad?
We figured it out real quick. You'll fit in with the Philly fans. We figured it out real quick. Oh, there it is. There it is.
I'm sure that's where it is. I'm sure.
I'm obviously joking. That didn't need to get added in there.
Oh, it did not. But it's unique, is what I'll say.
I also got Will Shipley too, which is really funny.
Yeah.
I can't believe that you think that.
For me, they are. I understand you're hurt.
There's no analysis in this, by the way. This is purely just like, and I think this is how everyone's taking it. Like the next 2 weeks, everyone has to decide.
It's grueling.
Who do I hate the least?
I lost so much money on Sunday. I don't know if I'm gonna. You know what? I will bet on the Super Bowl. I will begrudgingly do it though. It's all going to be Saquon player props. I'm giving you a heads up now.
That's easy.
I like Pacheco also. Maybe I'll bet on. I'll put some wagers on him.
We'll see what happens in the Super Bowl. At Joe DeLeone, at Sanderson Radio. We'll be back in the middle of the week with more. Enjoy the rest of your week.